In this lesson, we need to fix up the meta endpoint because when we refactored it to use Prisma, I accidentally introduced a regression. Now, this is one of the downsides of not having any unit tests in a project, and that if I had written good tests, we would have caught that problem immediately. The problem that I am talking about is that we do not add the lesson path to this object here that we return for the course outline. And so that means that we have no lesson path here in our UI. So all of these links here are broken because we don't have a path. We have no URL that we're setting on the links here. And so they just render as regular text. So the fix that we're going to do is to update our types first to add in that path as a string property. And then we'll update the code for the event handler itself. We'll add in some similar logic that we had before in order to fix this. So the one tricky thing that we've got going on here is that our endpoint returns this course outline type, but this course outline type does not directly use this lesson outline type. And so we can add in the path to this type like we did before with the lesson with path type. But because the chapter outline here is based on the lesson select type and not the lesson outline type, that change is not going to cascade through these different types. So we have to have another way of adding that type in. So first, let's fix up this type here. We'll add in this path string here. And so now our lesson outline type is the exact type that we would expect. But we have to do something different to fix up the chapter outline and then the course outline types. So what we're going to do is use the omit utility type. This is something that's built into TypeScript. And what we can do with it is we pass in a type, and then we can provide it with a string or a list of strings describing the properties that we want it to remove. So this is a way for us to copy types. So you can see here in the example for the docs, we take the to-do type, but remove the description. So we had a description here as a string, but then this new to-do, which is a to-do preview, has no description. So we're going to do the same thing here. So what we're doing here is we're saying that we're going to get this type that we had previously, but then we're going to remove the lessons property off of it because the lessons property is based off of this lesson select, which does not have the path property that we want. Instead, we're going to re-add that lessons property in, but we're going to make it a type of lesson outline, which is the correct type that has that path string. So then now this type is the correct one. And then we just need to repeat the same thing for our course outline. We're going to get that type that we had before, but then we'll remove the chapters because it's based on the chapter select type, which is not going to include the path on the lesson. And instead, we want it to use this chapter outline here. So now that we have our types sorted out, it's now time to update the logic for our endpoint. So this is the logic here. It's not any different than anything you've seen before. We're getting the course like we did before, doing some error handling, and then we're going to map through the outline and then add the path on to each lesson based on the chapter slug and the lesson slug. And then finally, we return the outline with this new chapters and the lessons there. We can save that. And if we go to our hopscotch, come to our metadata, and we can see that now we are getting that path on every single lesson. So now that we have fixed the meta endpoint, we can now get back to adding Pina with the course progress saved in the database. And our next lesson will be updating our Prisma schema to add in a model so we can save that course progress to the database.